Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day, and we ask that your name be glorified. We ask that we may serve you with our hearts, with our souls, with our minds, with our strength. We ask that we may listen to you, to hear you, and to serve you. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, good morning. It is now the 7th week of Ordinary Time. Welcome to Monday of the 7th week. This is our last full week before we enter into Lenten season. Lent starts in about 10 days. It starts a week from Wednesday, obviously on Ash Wednesday. And therefore, we are slowly moving into Lent, but we are indeed still in Ordinary Time. This is the 7th week of Ordinary Time. And our first reading comes to us from the 3rd chapter of James. So last week we were looking at James, and we're continuing in our focus on the letter of James. And he talks about something, actually both readings actually talk about one simple theme, and that is humility. So he's talking about humility. And we want to look at that. We want to look at what that is all about. And maybe one of the things it really shows to us in this humility is kind of an understanding of knowing when to act, knowing when to speak, and knowing when not to act, and knowing when not to speak. I'm going to talk a little bit about wisdom. It's a story I've told before, but then we can translate it over to this. And it's a story that was related to me a long time ago, and back in the 70s, actually, where someone in their late teens was basically a new driver in a sense, probably been driving for a couple of years, but he was a passenger in a car, and his grandfather was driving the car, and next to the car stopped at a stoplight. So they were, in a sense in the either the middle lane or the far right lane. So the lane next to them, the left lane, there was a van. So they could not see beyond the van. And the light was red, and then it turns green, and the van never moves. And by not moving, the man who was driving, who was the grandfather, the person relating to me the story, also didn't move. And then suddenly, out of the blue, there was a car that ran the red light and, what's it called? I don't know, jackrabbits? No, actually, just ran the red light. And obviously, the van driver saw it. The grandfather didn't. The man ran the red light and just kept on going. But the grandfather thought to himself, apparently, well, if the van isn't moving, there must be a reason. So I'm not going to move either. That's a form of wisdom. So, when we look at the reading, this is from James 3, and we see such things as, who among you is wise in understanding? Let him show his works by a good life in the humility that comes from wisdom. I use that example I just showed you as a way of, through wisdom, we understand when to act, when not to act, when to move, when not to move. Because many times the best thing you can do is not to react or not to speak when everyone else is reacting. Best example I can have on this is online and Twitter. I think I rail against Twitter quite a bit. Now, I use Twitter to tweet out our radio show, but that's about it. That's about all I use it for. And I will also go on the Catholicism forum in Reddit and some other forums, but I don't get into these arguments back and forth. And that's because it doesn't do anyone any good. So I don't do that. And there are many people that will argue, try to prove their point or really put people down. And that is somewhere where I don't choose to go. If we're going to live through a wisdom, then we're going to understand when to speak and when not to speak, when to act and when not to act. And there is an example of this that we see. This is coming to us from chapter 3 of James. And chapter 3 of James begins with that famous story or the famous admonition of controlling your tongue. And basically this continues so we can understand that wisdom helps us to understand when to speak and when not to speak. And that's a powerful understanding. So you can react right away, and you want to be careful. Sometimes you have to. Or you can hold back and say, nope, I will wait. I will wait before I react. Or another common thing is people will do is they may write something out and then wait 24 hours and then send it. There's a great phrase I enjoy, and it's actually used in driving school from what I understand, and it is do not be dead right. And what dead right means is that you took the right act. You did the right thing that was legally, you had the right of way, so you legally could have acted, but in doing so, someone who disregarded the law or disregarded your right of way just ran over you and killed you. That's being dead right. So, for example, we go back to our traffic example. We can go the person who was driving the van or the grandfather both had the right, if they felt that it was safe to move, I guess that's the best way to do it, to move forward. So if they said, well, the light is green, I can go forward, and they would have been dead right. Although technically the law says to proceed if it's safe to do so, which the van driver did not see that. Or recognize that it was not safe. But you see what I'm saying? You can be... So a lot of times the law may say you can act, but wisdom says no, not in this case, or let us hold back and wait. We're going to talk more about this on the other side of the break. You're listening to St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WEZE 590 AM, and you can also hear us at CatholicAudiomedia.com. We'll be right back right after this. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. And don't forget our own website, CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can check out our website, check out the archives of the show, check out our Substack newsletter. You can also check out the various things we have over there. Shopping, if you'd like to do some shopping. You can buy my latest book and read it during Lent if you'd like. You can also check out other things over there. You can send us feedback. Please consider doing that. Send us some feedback. That's really helpful to us. And also, if you'd like to donate to the show, that would really help, because donating the show helps the parish, and the parish supports the show. So please consider that. Speaking of the parish, don't forget, you have a standing I always get this word wrong. I don't know why. I go to say invitation, and it always comes out invocation. So let's try that again. You have a standing invitation to come to the 10 o'clock a.m. Mass at St. Anthony Parish on any Sunday, right here in Allston, Massachusetts. Reminds me of a quick story. One of the things I've tried it twice. Hasn't really worked out well, but I've actually sent out coupons. And I was thinking maybe I should put one on the website. And the coupon is that if you go to the Mass, you can drop the coupon in instead of putting something in of the collection, so it looks like you're dropping something in. Because people will say, well, the only reason why the church is there is to collect money. Well, okay, fine. Here you can drop this in the collection, and you cannot have to pay because you use the coupon. It's a way to get you into church. I thought it was a good idea. And it had some interest. We did have some response to that. Another one was I gave out a chip, and the chip was used to give to someone to invite them to Mass. And so that's an idea, but some people were offended when they received the chip from a loved one, so we stopped doing that. But anyway, those are some ideas I've used. And again, those are things I've done to say, hey, you have a standing invitation to come to the 10 o'clock a.m. Mass at St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. So we're talking here, what St. James talks about is this wisdom. And he talks about this wisdom that isn't focused on ambition. It isn't focused on responding in bitterness. It isn't focused on anything that is rooted in the world. It's focused on listening to the wisdom of God and acting on it. So one of the powerful things that wisdom may demonstrate is how to live our faith in a proper way, in a way that it spreads our faith, that glorifies the name of the Lord. And when we do that, then it speaks powerful things. For example, what James says is this wisdom is first of all pure, then peaceable, gentle, compliant, full of mercy and good fruits, without inconstancy or insincerity. But when we don't have that wisdom, it can cause division, it can cause anger, it can cause bitterness, and we're seeing a lot of that happening right now. So when we see, there was a great thing, I know I've talked about this before, at St. Peter's Lutheran Church. St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Eastham, Massachusetts, had a sign one time. It's one of those signs. I suppose I don't know if they subscribe to a sign script or something like that. I have no idea. But it was a great message that I remember hearing. The devil divides and subtracts, God adds and multiplies. So when you see division, when you see things that cause division, then you're not necessarily looking at anything that is wisdom from above, unless that division is designed to lead people back to a unity, right? But if there's a division, if there's anything that causes that dissension, that division, in the name of what I think is right or what I think is the best thing, but I'm not uniting myself to the deeper wisdom that comes from God, then as St. James warns, that's not God's wisdom. That's earthly wisdom. That comes from the earth or lower. I'll put it that way. I'm not going to use the word he does. I'm not going to get too much into that because I don't want to walk down that path. But it's a wisdom that does not come from God. So our wisdom always has to be a wisdom that we root in the Lord. Now, as we get closer to Lent, one of the things we may look at is a way to grow in that wisdom, and the most powerful way to grow in that wisdom is to pray. So this might be a good time to plan out for yourselves a time of prayer, maybe even a half-hour day. And I always promote the adoration. Maybe I'm going to add that for the next couple of weeks, that adoration sitting before the Blessed Sacrament that is streaming online. And make an appointment with God every day for even a half an hour or an hour, if you can do it, of just to be people in prayer, do some spiritual reading, and even some silent prayer to the Lord, so that you can grow in that wisdom. Well, we will talk more tomorrow. Remember, you can find us here on WEZE at midnight and 3 o'clock in the morning. Have a blessed day. In Cristo vivimos.